Communion Music is an independent music company made up of Communion Records, Communion Presents, and Communion Publishing. It has offices in London and Brooklyn, NY. In its capacity as a label, promoter and publisher, it currently works with a wide range of artists including Catfish and the Bottlemen, Ben Howard, James Bay, George Ezra, Bears Den, Nathaniel Ratefliff and the Night Sweats, Daughter and Highly Suspect. History. Communion was founded by musicians Kevin Jones, Ben Lovett and acclaimed producer Ian Grimble. It was born in the summer of 2006 as a monthly live music night at London's Notting Hill Arts Club. Frustrated by the overly competitive and often artist-unfriendly live music scene in London, the founders' intention was to create a platform for their own and others' music in an environment that was creative, collaborative and respectful. The night quickly grew into an active and supportive community of musicians and fans, and in 2016 celebrates its 10th anniversary. For that West London basement bar, Communion has grown into a record label, concert promoter and publisher, with offices in London and New York, and a firmer than ever focus on artist development. Communion Records. Communion Records was started initially as a way to document and present the community of musicians that was building in and around the Communion Club Night and others like it in West London. Accordingly, its first release was a compilation simply titled Communion, released as a limited edition 12 inches vinyl. It featured previously unheard recordings by the likes of Mumford & Sons, J.J. Pistolet, Johnny Flynn, Ulysses Ark and Peggy. It also featured a number of emerging artists who would end up releasing music on the label later, including Elena Tonra, Andrew Davey and Matthew Hegarty. With the compilation as a launchpad, the label released its first artist release in 2010. It went on to release debut EPs and singles by a wide range of artists including Michael Kiwanuka, Ben Howard, Gottlieb Daughter, Matt Corby, Marcus Foster, Nathaniel Ratefliff and others. In many cases the label's founders were highly involved in the creative process, with Grimble often producing and Jones playing with the artists in the studio live. Via a 2-year partnership with Island Records, Communion went on to release full-length albums by Deep Valley, Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros, Half Moon Run and Catfish and the Bottlemen, whose debut album The Balcony has gone on to sell around 400,000 copies worldwide and saw the band winning a 2016 Brit Award for Best British Breakthrough. In 2015, Communion Records signed a new distribution deal with Universal Music's Caroline International, under which it is releasing music by its current roster, which includes Bears Den, Joseph J. Jones, Ruxana Mary's Banfi, Siddhartha, Foreign Fields and Matthew and the Atlas. Communion Records US. In 2012, Communion launched its sister label, Communion Records US, under the stewardship of Ben Lovett. Initially distributed by Sony Red and now by Capitol Music Group, it has signed and released records by Tennis, Willie Mason and Rubble Bucket, as well as been a US home for Bears Den, Catfish and the Bottlemen and Matthew and the Atlas. Compilations continuing the tradition started by the first release, Communion has gone on to release 3 further compilations. The Flower Pot Sessions, which was the product of a week-long collaboration between 23 artists. Communion took over the now-closed North London pub for a week, and facilitated a week of live performances, writing sessions and recording on-site. Artists included Angus and Julia Stone, Damien Rice, Mount Desolation, Lizzie and Marcus Foster. New Faces, Communion's third compilation. New Faces was a cherry-picked selection of music that Communion was excited about, a look back at the previous year's best new music, and a look forward to what was coming next year. It featured artists including Michael Kiwanuka, Matt Corby, Bears Den, Dan Kroll and Joe Banfi. Communion 10N was released to mark the 10th anniversary of Communion. Released as a very limited 12 inches vinyl, Side 1 features a best of Communion Records' previous releases, and Side 2 features a selection of new artists on the roster. It was released in conjunction with Record Store Day. Communion Presents. Communion Presents is one of London's leading independent concert promoters. Like Communion Records, it emerged from the Communion Club night, applying the same artist-centric ethos and approach to career development. It represents a roster of around 150 artists, including James Bay, Ben Howard, George Ezra, Michael Kiwanuka, Half Moon Run, Matt Corby, Jack Garrett, Bears Den, The Staves, Francis, Nathaniel Ratefliff and the Night Sweats and Chet Faker. Festivals. Communion Presents has its own 1,500 capacity festival in Shepherd's Bush called Bushstock. Focused on new and emerging talent, it takes place in June across multiple venues in the Shepherd's Bush area. Communion Presents is also a partner in Citadel Festival, a one-day event in Victoria Park in London that launched in July 2015 with Ben Howard as its first headliner. Tours. Communion Presents has produced a number of tours, most notably the Austin to Boston tour of March 2012, which was made into an award-winning documentary of the same name. It also produces a biannual tour in the UK called New Faces, which features 4 emerging artists on a rotating lineup. Communion Publishing. Communion Publishing is an independent music publisher administered by Cobold. Writers on the roster include Catfish and the Bottlemen, Bears Den, Foreign Fields, Banfi, Joseph J. Jones, Matt Hegarty and Richard Freno. Releases. 2010 Matthew and the Atlas, To the North. Communion Compilation. Petro, The Merry-Go-Round EP, Philadelphia Grand Jury, Going to the Casino, single. Matthew and the Atlas, Kingdom of Your Own EP, 2011 Three Blind Wolves, Sound of the Storm EP. Nathaniel Ratefliff, The Communion, Data to Bounce Stormer Live EP, The Flower Pot Sessions, Communion Compilation. Treetop Flyers, Things Will Change, single. To Kill a King, Fictional State, single. Michael Kiwanuka, Tell Me a Tale, The Isle of Wight Sessions EP. Treetop Flyers, It's About Time. Michael Kiwanuka, I'm Getting Ready EP. Daughter, The Wild Youth EP. Go to Ye Easy Way Out, single. 2012 Gabriel and the Hounds, Kiss Full of Teeth. Half Moon Run, Dark Eyes. Michael Kiwanuka, I'm Getting Ready, single. New Faces, Communion Compilation. Foy Vance, Melrose EP. Pale Seas Bodies, My Own Mind, single. Joe Banfi, Iron EP. Michael Kiwanuka, Bones, single. 2013 Joe Banfi, Nomads. Bears Den, Agape. Half Moon Run, Full Circle. Storybooks, Too Much A Hunter. Catfish and the Bottlemen, Homesick. Half Moon Run, Full Circle 7. Deep Valley, Sistrionics. Joe Banfi, Spotify Sessions. Storybooks, Communion and XFM present New Faces, Volume 1. Storybooks Live at XFM. Caveman, In the City. Caveman, Edward Sharp and Amp, The Magnetic Zeros, Edward Sharp and Amp, The Magnetic Zeros. Catfish and the Bottlemen, Rango, The Trouble with Templeton, 6 months in Acast. Bears Den, Without, Within EP. Cher Morea, Ministry of Stories. Mikhail Paskalev, I Spy. Tennis, Small Sound EP. Catfish and the Bottlemen, Pacifier, single. 2014 Bears Den, Elysium EP. Bad Sons, Transpose EP. Nick Mulvey, Fever to the Form EP. Catfish and the Bottlemen, Kathleen, single. Storybooks, From Post to Post EP. Matthew and the Atlas, Pale Sun Rose, single. Matthew and the Atlas, Other Rivers. Matthew and the Atlas, Nowhere Now, single. Catfish and the Bottlemen, Fallout, single. Catfish and the Bottlemen, Hourglass, single. Rubble Bucket, Carousel Ride EP. Catfish and the Bottlemen, The Balcony. Catfish and the Bottlemen, Cocoon. Catfish and the Bottlemen, Pacifier. Twin Peaks, Wild Onion. Tennis, Ritual in Repeat. Bear's Den, Above the Clouds of Pompeii EP. Bear's Den, Islands. Bear's Den, Agape EP. 2015 Bear's Den, Think of England EP. Banffy, Where We Part. Starling, Take It Down. Starling, Miss Fenn. Francis, Grow EP. Ruxana Mary's, September Songs. Francis, Let It Out EP. Bear's Den, Islands Bonus Edition. 2016 Matthew and the Atlas, Elijah, single. Communion Singles Club Volume 1 Viola Beach Boys That Sing. Ruxana Mary's, Money. Twin Peaks Butterfly, single. Commune 10 and 10th Anniversary LP. Matthew and the Atlas, Temple. Matthew and the Atlas, On a Midnight Street, single. Twin Peaks, Down in Heaven. Communion Singles Club Volume 2 Gil Banks, Childhood. Joseph J. Jones, The Video. Bear's Den, Old Wives, single. Siddhartha Apricity, single. Bear's Den, Red Earth and Amp, Pouring Rain. Forthcoming Siddhartha Apricity album. Foreign Fields Take Cover.